We're joined by Rachel Bendayan. She's MP for Outremont, also the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Small Business. Rachel, good morning.
Good morning, Elias. How are you?
I'm doing well. Listen, I need to point out for our listeners, the fact of the matter is that you and I both went to Laurel Hill Academy in Saint Laurent. We graduated the same year. You were a former classmate of mine, and it is a great pleasure to talk to you now as an MP.
Thanks, Elias.
All right. Rachel, it's been a theme on today's show. From top to bottom on this program, we've spoken to a barber, we've spoken to a restaurant owner. I got callers from listeners who are unhappy that people are staying home and collecting the $2,000 CERB. I've got callers from people who think that the CERB, the program, is the best thing ever. So this has been a theme throughout the whole show. When it gets to the small business owner and what the government has announced now, this program for rents and helping small business, what can you tell us about what you have heard from small businesses and how the government has reacted to those concerns?
Well, obviously, I've been spending a lot of time speaking to entrepreneurs, both in the riding and right across the country as Parliamentary Secretary. And I mean, I could tell you that one of the things that comes up most often is really just surprise that the government is there for them in such a big way, and that we've responded to their needs not only by introducing programs, but by adjusting them and modifying them based on the feedback that I've been getting and that members of Parliament have been getting across Canada. And I think that, in some respects, we've had a bit of a crisis of confidence over the last number of years, maybe starting a little bit in the United States, but certainly creeping up into Canada, people wondering what government was there for, and now, just this huge relief that government is there to support them.
What do you say to the criticism about this, this rent relief program, and the Prime Minister announced that's going to open up on May 25th, that, because the onus is on the landlords to accept this program, it's not giving the kind of direct support directly to the small business owner. What do you say to those concerns?
Well, firstly, we are providing direct support to small business owners. Just yesterday, the Prime Minister announced an extension or expansion of the eligibility criteria for the small business loan of $40,000, of which $10,000 is forgivable or a form of a grant. So keeping money in the small business owner's pocket is really helping them weather the storm, and they have the liquidity necessary with the loan in order to pay for a lot of their operating costs. But, I heard you this morning, and I've been hearing from tenants. I do understand that the rent relief program is based on, tenants wanting to play ball. A lot of them are. And, they are for a number of reasons. Firstly, they're not able to get, rent at the moment because their tenants are largely closed. And that's just the reality of the situation. And I think, back to some of the conversation I had with tenants who are continuing to pay their mortgages, their property costs, taxes, maintenance, and other. So, having 75% of their rent is going to be helpful for a lot of tenants.
I got a text message here from a listener that I guess, got very unlucky, and they opened up their small business March 1st, right? So they opened up, and a couple of weeks later, everything is shut down. Is there anything available to someone like them that got, just very unlucky with timing?
Well, there's certainly the regional development agencies that are providing funding to very small businesses that are not able to access any of the other federal government supports. And the SEBA, which is that small business loan I mentioned a moment ago, is available to all small businesses that opened after March 1st.
Okay.
Sorry, before March 1st, obviously. But I think that, our startups, speaking to Startup Canada and other major associations representing them over the last couple of weeks have been feeling supported throughout the crisis.
We're with Rachel Bendayan. She's the MP for Outremont, also the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Small Business. Rachel, what are your thoughts on critics of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit that say it is too rich, the $2,000 gives too much of an incentive for people to stay home? And I heard from one moving company owner on this show, and also from the restaurant owner, who gave me the example. They do their payroll, and they pay their employees $15 an hour. So after taxes, their 2-week pay is $948.40. and that same employee could stay home and get the $2,000. What's your response to the criticism to those who think that CERB is keeping people off the market?
Well, the CERB is helping 8 million Canadians with this $2,000 support, and I can tell you that it's very much needed for all of those Canadians. But I would say that we actually changed the program. CERB was modified in order to allow people to make up to $1,000 per month. So if you are making $948 at your job at the moment, you can still continue working and receive the government support.
All right. While I still have you on the line here, I just want to ask you about a couple of non-small business issues. One is virtual Parliament and how Parliament is going on right now. It seems to be a contentious issue. There seems to be, the Conservatives want a return to a more normal parliamentary sitting. What are your thoughts on how virtual Parliament is going and how long virtual Parliament and a reduced sitting of Parliament should continue?
Well, I don't know if you were able to catch any of our virtual Parliament episodes.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I think it is. I mean, I've been getting a lot of great comments, and folks seem to be enjoying watching us, virtually. I think that the United Kingdom is asking us, how they can adopt a similar model to Canada's. We are, in essence, the example that other countries are following with respect to this. We sit twice a week virtually. Wednesdays, the House does sit physically in person in a much reduced number. I think that we've struck a good balance in order to continue to respond to questions from opposition members and being held accountable, throughout the crisis.
But if that's the case, why are, so many of the opposition members saying, nope, not good enough?
I guess you would have to ask the opposition members, but, from my perspective, I can certainly see the accountability at work. There are, daily touch bases with opposition leaders and members of opposition parties in order to get their feedback on how the programs are working in their own ridings. If you speak to folks, I think back to some of the statements Elizabeth May has made about how effective our Parliament has been working through the pandemic and how responsive the government has been, both with ministers and the Prime Minister answering directly questions coming, either in the House or online.
Well, Rachel, of course you like virtual Parliament. You're so young. You're just like me. We're both young. We know the technology. It's the older members of Parliament I'm worried about. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Elias.
That's Rachel Bendayan, MP for Outremont, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Small Business.